everyone. We are going to be going question by question this week on an EOC review packet. You'll always find the review standard that we're going highlighted at the top of the page. And there's some information here just to jump right into it. The different levels that you can expect to see on your EOC. So sometimes just knowing how to perform something at a simple level, that might be a level 2 where you just have to do, in this case, we're talking about polynomials. You may just have to be adding them or using distributed property. But as you go on through greater levels or degrees, it's kind of like a video game. You level up. Once you know how to pass this level, you level to the next screen. And that's how it works in math and on these questions that will be on your exam as well. So some questions will be easier than others. You can expect that majority are not here and the majority are not here in levels 2 and 5. But you can expect to see a lot of level 3 and 4 questions, all right? So let's take a look at a couple examples here. We'll start with these two and see, when we see a question or a set of questions like this, what should be going on in our mind? Okay, so I didn't introduce the video for a reason. I want to hear from you, or I want to give you some think time. And I give a few hints along the way. So what is the product of the following expression? So when I take a look at this question number 1, there's a few things I notice. 1, I have some terms inside parentheses, and the terms are being squared, so I have an exponent there to deal with. And when I go back and I read the question, I see it says product of the following expression. So remember, an expression, you're just going to, there's no equal sign. You're not going to get anything that like says x equals 4. You're just going to kind of shuffle some stuff around, simplify it. Here they're asking for the product, and the product is the answer when you use multiplication. All right, so product is multiplying. So there's some hints been thrown out here. I am going to be doing some multiplying. Okay, when I look at my answers, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't even know what's going on here. So let's start and rationalize. What would you do if you saw this question? So what would you do? Let's do a little think cloud over here. What would you do if you had, let's say, the number 4 squared? Well, you would take that 4 times 4 would give you 16. Okay? But we're not squaring just the number 4. In our example, we have 3x plus 6. So the first thing I notice is that this whole entire thing has to be times by its own self. Just like 4 gets times twice, there's 2 4s. I'm going to have 2 3x plus 6's. So that's one of them. And I'm going to put another one. So actually, it's just like having 4 times 4 we had over here, except that's not a 4, that's a whole expression, 3x plus 6, 2 times. So this here is classic FOIL. Here we go. So whenever you see polynomials, I know there's faster ways to do it. I just teach a guaranteed way all the time. Okay, so we have 2 polynomials. That means there's more terms, and we have to multiply these by each other. So I'm going to use FOIL. I'm going to use my first terms. Boom. And so I got my first terms, I got my outer terms. First and outer, so it's this 3x is the first term in this set, 3x is the first term in that set. And then the outer, 3x is the outer term, and 6 is the outer term, so I'm going to match those up. Then I'm going to use my inner terms, that's 6 times 3x. And then my last terms, that's the last in each set. So that's how we get FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. If you don't know, that says F-O-I-L. All right. So how do we actually do that math? Well, 3x times 3x. That's what I see here. I'm going to come off to the side. Well, 3x times 3x. Because it's multiply, I have to deal with these x's. I know I'm going to have an x squared because it's x times x. Just like 4 times 4 is 4 squared. Okay? So this is not just adding like 3x and 3x is 6x, because addition and subtraction have completely different rules very often than multiplying and dividing. So that's a common theme in mathematics. All right, so x times x is x squared, and the coefficients 3 times 3 is 9. So I know I'm going to start with a 9x squared. So immediately, if I feel confident, I know I can eliminate answer choice A. Boom. Okay, so that takes care of my first terms. Now my outer terms. Well, my outer terms are 3x times 6 because this is on the outside and this is on the outside of that whole grouping. Well, if I come over to the side and I say, well, 3x times 6. Well, remember, x is just going to come along for the ride, and I can do 3 times 6 is 18, so I have an 18x. So I'm going to put over here plus 18x. Notice there's an 18x here, but wait, there might be more. Okay, don't get too excited. We know that I see these two are looking like I saw an 18x. I might want to save myself some time and say, oh, I found the answer, it's C. Don't get ahead of yourself. Keep going back. We got 2 more parts here. So that was our outer terms. Now I want to take a look at my inner terms. Well, I have 6 times 3x again. Well, so I could write it here. 6 times 3x is 18x. So I have another 18x. So I can see where this is starting to shape up. What is 18x plus 18x is 36x. So now I know, well, I see a 36 here, and I see a 36 here. So I'm still kind of torn between any of these answers. Let me keep going. So that was my inner term. So I know that in the middle I'm going to have a 9x squared. I know I'm going to have a 36x. This one does not have an x with the 36, so I'm going to eliminate answer choice B. At this point, I can probably go ahead and eliminate answer choice C and call D my final answer, but I want to feel more confident because if this was your end of course exam, there's a lot of things riding on this. In the state of Florida, you have to pass this test to graduate high school. So let's just take the brief moment to go back and make sure we're in good shape. So what are my last terms? Well, if I take the last term in here, 6 times 6, well, 6 times 6 is, indeed, 36. So I would have a plus 36 on the end of this. So I would have had my 9x squared plus my 36x plus my 36. I feel very confident now to go back and say, I believe D is the answer. All right, so I know that's a lot of talking and reasoning our way through, but sometimes that's going to be exactly what's necessary for you to succeed on some of these exams. Okay, take your time and work through the question. So now I want to go with number 2. Number 2, we have to apply some similar rules, but actually number 2 should be a relief from number 1. Boom, boom, boom. That's strange. I'm just trying to click on here. Boom, mouse, black pen. I think we got it now. Okay, great. So coming over here to number 2, let me see where I'm at. This pen is so hard to use. I'm going to say that every time. Oh, here we go. Boom. Okay, number 2. What is the product of the following expression? Same thing we had earlier. This one, we had to square everything inside the parentheses. But here, I have one term outside, and I have 3 terms inside these parentheses. This is classic distributive property. So this 2x has to be distributed or multiplied by each term inside the parentheses. Here we don't have to double do it with FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. Now we just have to do this one time. So we have 2x times x squared. Well, the coefficient 2, and I can pretend there's a 1 here. 2 times 1 is 2. Now I have x times x squared. So remember, when you are multiplying, you have to see what their exponents are. This does not have an exponent, but we have to count how many x's would there be altogether. So this x is 1x. This would break down into 2 different x's, x times x. So actually we have x to the 3rd power because there's 3 of those x's going on. So that's how I figured that out. 2x to the 3rd. Again, all my answers have that, so I'm going to keep going. Nothing I can't eliminate yet. And I'll come back here to 2x now. So we did that one. 2x times x. Well, 2x times x, I'm sorry, this isn't x. Okay, 2x times x. Well, same thing. 2 times coefficient 1, because there's nothing in front of that x, is still 2. And now this time, how many x's do I have? Just 2 of them. So that's going to be an x squared. So it didn't say negative, it's just regular, so I'm going to put plus 2x squared. So I feel pretty confident about that answer so far, so I know right away that in this column, this can't work because that does not have a 2x squared, and this cannot work because that does not have a 2x squared. So let me keep going. So I finished that term. Now I have 2x times, and here's one of the things I always like to draw your attention to. Please, please, please remember all the time, the sign is in front of the number. So this is a negative 5. So 2x, let me come out here, 2x times negative 5. This 5 does not have an x on it, so I'm only going with coefficients. It's a negative. Well, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, and how many x's were on that multiplication there? Just 1. So because it's negative 10x, I write that on the end as negative 10x, also called minus 10x. So now it's pretty clear that my answer choice, again, is answer choice D. All right? That's how you figure out that one. So moving on in number 3, let's see, I'm going to leave those two skills together. Feel free to review this video when you're doing the product, when you have, this is called a binomial, 2 terms, a binomial times itself. You use FOIL. And here you just have 1 term on the outside times a polynomial, 3 terms on the inside. So 2 different strategies. If you are in my class, you will be doing a worksheet that has some practice on this. It is due the end of class today. It will be graded. I grade it when I get it. Okay, and so make sure that you turn that in for credit today. In addition, we will be looking at a few of the rest of these problems on tomorrow. Okay, that's all for me. Enjoy the rest. If you found this online, you can access the this worksheet below if you'd like to follow along. We'll be going through this entire package page by page as a review for the Florida Algebra 1 EOC coming up in May. We got 2 months to get it going. So I will be putting this in the playlist. Please feel free to like, subscribe. You can send comments, or if you need any questions or math tutoring help, please feel free to email me at peggnl@gm.sbac.edu. Okay, that's it for me.